welcome to today's video where I'm finally going to be talking about some super underrated brushes from the brand The Makeup Shack. Specifically, there is one brush that is a holy grail brush. It is so small. So first I'm going to show you each brush up against my eyes so that you can get an idea of the size, and then I will be using some of the brushes in a tutorial to show you how they perform. So let's get right into it. So they do have natural hair brushes as well as synthetic brushes. I have 3 of their natural hair brushes, so I thought I would get these out of the way, and then the rest of them are all synthetic. So starting off with T82, this is a nice, smaller, longer bristled blending brush, and it does have a little bit of a point to it. I'm not a huge fan of these because after a couple of washes, I did notice that they do feel just a little bit prickly, so I do prefer the synthetic brushes. Next one is the T83 brush, and this one is a little bit more flat at the top. And then the T13, which is a pencil brush. Now onto the synthetic brushes, I'm going to be starting off with the larger blending brushes and then go down in size. So next up is the T46 brush. You can see it's rather large and pretty fluffy. It's got a little bit of a dome at the end, so it is not flat across. I personally would probably only use this brush for setting the eyeshadow primer, but not really so much for blending. Maybe for blending the edges further with some like setting powder on the brush. But again, this is not something I would go in with like a super pigmented shadow. Next up is the T88 brush. This was just a little bit smaller, a little less fluffy and domed. Also pretty large, probably really wouldn't be using it too much for any detailed work especially. T45, long bristles. It's a little less fluffy but still domed. T64, this one is super flared out and flat, so this one will cover a lot of ground, definitely not for detailed work either, but this one might be nice to just lay down a matte, lighter kind of transition shadow right in the crease. T87 is a little bit more pointed. It's domed, but it's got a little bit of a point to it. Still a little bit large, but this one will get into your crease because of that slight point. T36 brush, I feel like the main difference is the bristles are shorter, but it's very similar to the previous brush. T9, I would mostly be using this for packing on eyeshadow, either all over the lid or just in the outer corner, but this one is pretty dense as well, and the bristles are a little bit they have a less bend to them because they are shorter. Next up is the T44 brush. This one is a blending brush, but it is a little bit on the flat side. I'm not really a huge fan of these kinds of brushes, but this one would be great for laying down matte eyeshadow or probably even shimmer eyeshadow all over the lid if you really wanted to cover a large area. But you can see how it's wide here and then it's a little bit thinner over here. You could also use it this way. I personally just prefer fluffy blending brushes. T73, this is basically a smaller version of the T9. So it's got less bend to it. It's pretty stiff because the bristles are short, but it is a little bit domed at the top, but not too much. I would probably, again, use this to pack on eyeshadow on the outer corner, not so much to blend out eyeshadow. Unless you were having a little bit of trouble blending out a shadow, then you would want something a little bit stiffer to be able to move that shadow around. And last but certainly not least is my most favorite little blending brush from The Makeup Shack. It is tiny little blending brush. This one is great for detailed work. You can put down shadow in the outer corner and blend it out with this brush. It's got quite a bit of bend to it because the bristles are a little bit longer, but it's got just enough stiffness where I don't feel like it's too flimsy and I don't have control. And it is just a little bit rounded at the top. And I have 4 more of these. So I have 5 total of these brushes because they're just so amazing, especially if you have hooded eyes. Highly recommend. Get like 2 of these at least. Last up is the only flat brush I own from them. This is the T6. Personally, I don't love it. I think this is great for maybe doing a cut crease because of the sharper edge. It is pretty flat. You could also use it for shimmers, but for me personally, I like it when these kinds of brushes are a little bit longer and this one's a little bit short. You could also go in and really use it to connect the lower lash line with the outer corner here and just really get up in there because it does have that thinner edge. I'm going to be using the Melt Cosmetics 2027. I don't know why I thought it said 24/7. That'll make no sense. Eyeshadow palette. This one is rather old and I'm just dipping back into it. And I really love the tones in this one. But I'm actually going to be reaching into my Terra Moons for the shimmer. So I'm going to go in with one more thing. And it's going to go right into the crease. And I'm using the T9 brush. Now this one is a little bit on the stiffer side, but it is smaller and it has a flat top. And I'm just going to use this to lay something down in the crease. Next, using the T63 brush and going into thick, and I'm just going to put that right into the crease to help deepen it up just a tad. Just really gets up in there. And then next I'm going to take a larger, fluffier brush, and I'm going to use some setting powder. This one just my skin tone, and I'm going to go over the edges with this. And this is kind of pretty much the extent of what I use a large fluffy blending brushes for. Taking Whiskey Neat, again on the T63 brush, and I'm just popping that onto the outer corner just to deepen it up out here. And this brush is so perfect for that. I mean, look at how perfectly, look at just how it fits right up in there. And I like to just pack it down. And then I'm going to wipe off the brush so that there's not really much product left on it. And then I can also take it to start to blend that out, and I have lots of control to extend this as far out as I want versus using a larger blending brush. So just slowly working it outwards and only taking it about as far as I want. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more. Wiped off the brush a little bit again, and I just want to wing it out a little bit more out here. And then you can also use this brush for the lower lash line and smoke it out down here. So I'm going to do that just really nicely. Blending everything out. Putting down some Fahrenheit Pixie Epoxy. And I'm going in with Palladium from Terra Moons. This is such a beautiful, beautiful metallic. Melt Cosmetics could never, but that's none of my business. I'm just going to put that pretty much all over the lid where I put down the glitter primer. And I think this gets pretty decent coverage. I would have probably went in with a slightly larger brush just to kind of sweep it this way. And here's the finished look. Onto a couple of comparisons. This is the T63 brush, and just, this is $6, okay? 6 doll hairs. Here's refer number 13. Next to that, and then refer 14 next to that, which is a little larger than the 13, so you can kind of see. And just in general, don't let like similar shapes fool you, even if you feel like they're close enough. That does not mean that they perform the same by any means. And then next up for comparison is Gimme Glow G327 brush. I personally don't really like this brush. Now these two are natural hair brushes, and these two are synthetic brushes. Then we have the Spectrum times KJH 17 brush. I'm not sure if this one even sold separately ever. I'm pretty sure this one is in the bundle only. And I'm not even 100% sure if they're selling that one at all. And then next up from the newest bundle of brushes from What's Up Beauty is the R108 brush. And this one's pretty small as well. This one right here with the pink handle. So here they are so far all together. And then also another Spectrum brush. This is the B11 just for reference, but it is a little bit too large. I know it seems like it might be close enough, but it is definitely way fluffier, which makes it just larger. And then we have the Blend Bunny B2 brush that I'm going to put right here. And this one is flat at the top, has shorter bristles, and is a little bit on the stiffer side. So then onto the Sigma times Samantha detailed blending brush. I feel like this one is a little bit similar, but they do feel different. The Makeup Shack definitely is much softer and has a bit more bend to it than the Samantha and Sigma collab brush. And then the B1 brush from Blend Bunny. This one, maybe I'll remove the Samantha brush. This one might seem like it's similar enough, but it is pretty stiff, so it does not perform by any means similarly, and it is a little bit pointed, so it really is not a dupe. I would not consider it a dupe at all. And then lastly is the Cinch Beauty EO5 brush, and I'm going to remove the Blend Bunny brush, and I'm going to put this one next to it. They're definitely similar. I think the bristles on the Cinch brush are longer, and that makes them a little bit more bendable, and overall the shape is just a little bit different at the top here as well. There's a bit more of a dome here and a little less here. I think you can kind of see it. There's just like overall domes. So the performance is going to be different, and also the Cinch Beauty brushes are not sold individually. I also have a couple of blending brushes from P. Louise. This is the 124 brush right here with the pink handle. You can see this one's even smaller. This is a nice brush, but there's something about the bristle like texture that I'm not a huge fan. I definitely prefer whatever material this is made out of. And then there's also the 143 brush from P. Louise right here, but that one you definitely get a totally different performance blend from this one because of the fact that it's so flat at the top and it tapers down at the base. So those are my thoughts on the Makeup Shack brushes. I definitely highly recommend the T63 brush. It is my absolute favorite. Like I said, I have 5 of them, and they're honestly a must if you have hooded eyes, and it's super affordable, and you might be able to find a coupon code, and I do believe last time I checked they have free shipping over $15. So if you just get 3 of the brushes, you already get free shipping, and you have some amazing blending brushes. And some of these T63 brushes I've had for quite a few years, and the quality has been amazing. The natural brushes, I probably don't really recommend those unless you're okay with having to most likely replace them an X amount of time, because I do feel like they get prickly, but of course you gotta be careful with washing them because they are natural hair. So I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.